Welcome back. Let me adjust that camera a little. Try that again. Welcome back. So today we're going to look at two of my favourite movements, which are in many ways polar opposites, but at the same time they're kind of related. They both come from the same place, and it's where they go from there that makes a difference. So both of these movements start with your hip raised and your leg just floating underneath it, just hanging. So you could swing it like this. To the side, you can see, like this, in a pendulum, and it would maybe brush the floor, maybe. Keep your hip up, it shouldn't really touch the ground at all. So what we do from here depends on which movement we're doing. So we're going to start by just lifting one hip and letting it hang. All the weight's on the other leg. This leg has the weight. This leg is just floating off the ground, just hovering with the hip lifted. And we put it down again. And we lift it up. And we put it down again. And we lift it up. And we put it down. Now this time when we lift it up, we're going to keep the weight on this leg, remember, and collapse the knee as it goes down. Not put it down, collapse, but blob. This knee just goes blob. All the weight is still on this leg. So blob and blob and blob and blob and blob. And you should be really feeling it in this other leg now. Blob and blob and blob. Okay, doing the same thing on the other leg. We lift it, just hovering, and we put it down. And we lift it, and we put it down. And we lift it, we put it down. And we lift it, and we put it down. And now we lift it, and blob. And blob. All the weight is still over here. Blob. And blob. And blob. And blob. And blob. And blob. So we have two options. We can just pop, or we can blob. So we're going to do 4 pop, and when you do that, the weight comes into this foot. You come back, start again, pop, and we're going to do 4 sets of blob, 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 and back to the pops, and back to the blobs, and then change legs. So we're going to go and pop, and pop, and pop, and pop, and blob, and blob, and blob, and blob, and pop, and pop, and pop, and pop, and blob, and blob, and blob, and blob. To the other leg, and pop, and pop, and pop, and pop, and blob, and blob, and blob, and blob, and pop, and pop, and pop, and pop, and blob, and blob, and blob, and blob. Okay, so basically you have a foot hovering. You can either pop it down and transfer your weight, or you can keep the weight on this side and you can collapse it down. We're going to use each of those in one of our moves. So I'm going to look at my absolute favourite movement in the whole of Egyptian dance. It is also the movement that most people hate the most when they first learn it. It's awkward, it doesn't feel natural, it takes some time to get the flow of it, and basically when you first do it you look like one of the Thunderbirds. But when you get the hang of it, it's a really lovely movement. I really enjoy dancing with it. It looks utterly awesome, and it's actually not that difficult, and you can keep doing it for ages once you know what you're doing. So, I don't have a useful name for this movement, not because there isn't one, but because there are too many and none of them really work. You will hear people, especially in England, calling it the Egyptian walk, which is not a helpful name. Because firstly, yes, it's an Egyptian movement, and yes, it's a walking movement. But there are lots of walking movements in belly dance, and most of them are Egyptian, because Egypt is where much of belly dance comes from. In addition to this, there are lots of other movements you'll hear people calling the Egyptian or the Egyptian walk. Walking like this has been called an Egyptian walk. I have seen that. I have seen people call this an Egyptian walk. I've seen a lot of things called an Egyptian walk. It's almost like they're walking steps that come from Egypt or something. So, Egyptian walk, not a helpful name. I've also heard it called the 3/4 step or 3/4 shimmy, which is great, except there are also people who will do a step and up and step and call that the Egyptian walk or the 3/4 shimmy, or who will do a little shimmy, 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 and call that the 3/4 shimmy. Again, not a helpful name. The other name I have seen applied to this step is Hagala. Hagala is the closest to a real name for this step, and it is still wrong. Still not the right name. The Hagala step is the basic step for a dance called the Hagala. And the Hagala step goes a little bit like this. Similar, but a lot twistier. Not quite the same step. So I don't have a good name for this. I might very well end up calling it Lady Penelope because it's what I looked like when I first learned it. But hopefully you'll know the step I mean when I come to describe it in the choreography. So, all of that said, let's move on and actually learn it. So, you're going to start with your weight on one foot, probably the foot that you're most likely to put your weight on. So, that be your dominant leg or your non-dominant leg? Probably your non-dominant leg. So, put your weight on whichever leg you like. I'm not there, it doesn't matter. Hover one foot off the ground. Do not push it up on one toe, just hover it like we did for the warm-up there. Oh, technique warm-up. And you let it collapse. Blob. And then, when we actually dance this, we wait a little bit. Then you transfer your weight and push the hip out to the side. Now, your weight is on this foot. This foot is just hanging out. It's just there. It's not doing anything. Now, you lift this foot, this hip, straightening the leg, which causes this one to come off the ground a little bit. Once this is off the ground, you do the same thing again. Blob. Shift the weight, both in moving to the side and putting your weight on this leg. This is now the strong leg, not the collapsed leg. Lift up the hip on this side. Blob, shift, lift. Blob, shift, keep it strong here, lift up here. Blob, shift, lift. Blob, shift, lift. Blob, shift, lift. Blob, shift, lift. And this is the whole of the movement. Now, if you know anything about music, you'll know there are 4 beats to the bar. If you've been counting, you'll have noticed there are 3 parts to this step. So, what we do is, after we blob, we just take a minute to think, did I just go blob and call that a dance movement? Yeah, I did. What an idiot. And then we shift, lift. So it's kind of blob, oh, shift, lift, blob, oh, shift, lift, blob, oh, shift, lift, blob, oh, shift, lift. Normally, if you're going to use this movement, you'll hear it in the music, it'll make sense when you do. But it is a 4-point movement, of which one of the parts is a little rest. We go down, rest, shift, lift, down, rest, shift, lift, down, rest, shift, lift, down, rest, shift, lift. Now, when you speed it up, you get down, rest, shift, lift, 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 down, rest, shift, lift. And if you're wearing a hip scarf with bells or coins or any other kind of noisy things on it, even beads, you will hear it going shuka 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 shuka, and so on until I can't make the noise fast enough, which is a really good way to know you've got the bass movement right. So we're going to do a few of those. I wish I had a name for it so I could stop saying down, blob, shift, lift, but I haven't. So that's what we're going to have to stick with. Try to keep your legs soft but strong, except when you're blobbing, and your tailbone tucked as you do this movement. It's very easy to let your tail ride up and doing. And you wind up, well, you're wagging your tail like a duck, really. That is not attractive. So tail tucked. And we're going to go down, shift, lift, up, down, 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 shift, lift, down, shift, lift, down, shift, lift, shift, lift, down, shift, lift, down, shift, lift, down, shift, lift, shift, lift. And once you've got the hang of it, you can walk it forward. You can walk it back, which is trickier. You can walk it in a circle. You can do a forward and back. And when you do a forward and back, you really start to see why people think of it as a 3/4 shimmy, because you're going dakada, 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 dakada. But if you can't manage to do much with it at the moment, just work on walking on the spot, or maybe walking forward. Okay, that's the move I have no name for. It is the move that knows no name. Name the move, give it your own name. No one else will know what you're talking about, but you'll be a lot happier. Moving on to one of my other favourite moves. This move has a name. It's a good name and it makes sense. This move is called the Soheir Zaki Step. And it's called the Soheir Zaki Step because it's named after a dancer called Soheir Zaki. Now, Soheir Zaki is possibly the most sweet, adorable, lovely creature ever to dance. It is almost impossible to think dancing Soheir Zaki and not just automatically, in my case at least, I find myself assuming an expression of adorable sweetness. It just happens. If you don't believe me, watch Soheir Zaki dancing. Try to dance like her and it just happens. It's disturbing, frankly. But this step, the Soheir Zaki Step, is a step used by Soheir Zaki, popularised by her, possibly invented by her, certainly used by her so much that if you see it, that's who you think of, if you know what you're talking about. And it's a very simple step. We're going to have our arms out for now. It is that hinged leg drops, and as it drops, the hip comes down with it, and the other leg comes off the floor, and then that leg drops. And as it drops, the hip dropping, this hip comes up, bringing this foot off the floor. So your weight changes as the hip drops, and we go drop, and 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 drop. You'll find as you do this, it's quite a nice light bouncy step, very different from the earthiness of our not an Egyptian walk, not a Hagala step. There should be a moment when both feet are off the ground. Basically, your feet are hinged by your hips. Here are your hips doing that. Your legs hang down from your hips, your feet on the end. So as your hips tilt, your feet come up and down. So you start like this, one foot up, one foot down. This foot wants to come to here, and this foot wants to come to here. There's a moment in the middle when both feet are off the ground at the same time, just for a moment, as they exchange. And it's that little light, not up and down bounce with the head, but just down, 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 down with the lower body that makes the Soheir Zaki step what it is. Again, you want to keep your tail tucked. You don't want to keep your legs so stiff that they lock. There's a little softness in the legs, but still strong. No lop here. And we're just going to go bum, 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 bum. And again, you can use it to go forward. You can go bum, 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 bum. And how adorable. You can use it to turn. You can go sideways. A little trickier. The easiest thing is to do them on the spot or to turn, which is all we're going to do with them in our choreography. What I find about these two moves is that this one is hard to get, but once you've got it, you can basically do it forever. This one is very easy to understand. It's not hopping from foot to foot, but it is hopping from foot to foot. Just literally change feet, change feet, change feet. But it's remarkably tiring. So they're both difficult in different ways, but hopefully neither of them is too difficult. So what we're going to do now is try switching between them. We are going to do 8 of these shuka shuka movements. If I call it a shuka shuka, will people know what I meant? No, they think I was crazy. And follow it with 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. Then 4, 3, 4. Sorry, I just went over already. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 2, 1 and a 2, 1, 2. And I think we'll stop it there because I was doing 1, 1, and that's advanced for an advanced dancer. So we'll leave it at that. So are we ready? I'm going to count these out if I can. I may get hopelessly lost, but let's hope. And we're going 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and an 8 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and an 8 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 4s. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2, 3, 2s. 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2. 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 And so on. And you get the idea. If that was horrible, if you're still at the state of going, that's okay. I will have an alternative for you in the choreography for that step. Work on it in your own time. It's not going to be too fast anyway. Try to get these nice and clear. We're just going to be using them to turn with, so you don't need to worry about coming forwards and back or sideways with them. I shall see you in the choreography.